Okay, hello. I will add people as
Right.
and I am super excited to do today's call with Coach Julie. She is an amazing coach on the Hungry Fitness team. She is a dietitian. Do you want to say a little bit more background on yourself? I don't know, like what you want to share
Sure.
as far as like background and what you do outside of Hungry Fitness, and then we're going to talk all about stress today. So we're so excited. Julie's schedule usually conflicts with our weekly community call, so we are lucky to get to have her on Wednesday afternoon today.
Yeah. Yeah. My background is in dietetics. My undergrad, I did in exercise science and then kind of switched focus. Well, not really switched, but more so took more of a focus on nutrition. And I went back to school and got my master's. So I work as a dietitian right now for a university. I run their like within their food service department, ensuring that all of the kids that come to the school are able to eat within their meal plan with confidence when they have allergies and other things that they have to manage um, menus. So somebody who is diabetic or somebody who is celiac, like how can they go and take advantage of all of our food plans and eat at every hall that they want to without being afraid of having a reaction or something like that. So we do that. We do a lot of student education. We work with the athletes. And yeah, that's very new for me. Previously, I've worked with kids through K-12 for the past 2 years. And then prior to that, I was doing some clinical work. So I've done a little bit of everything in the dietitian space.
Well, I'm excited to get to learn from you today. Talking all things stress, which I think is a really good topic for this time of year. I don't know about anyone else, but for me, kids just got out of school. I know a lot of people, kids get out in May and or June, and I think some things can be more stressful, some things can be less stressful, but it's a transition, and transitions alone usually cause stress because we are just recalibrating to a new schedule and new things that are happening, whether that's, feeding more kids at home, more distractions, more interrupted work, more maybe less driving kids around or more. There's just a lot of things that can change when schedules change. And so I think this is a really good time to talk through how to manage stress and just be able to thrive in a new with a new schedule and a new time of year. So thank you for
For
hosting.
sure. Yeah. One thing I think it's interesting about stress, you said like this time of year, but there's always a season for stress. Like stress just changes, right? There's ebbs and flows all the time. And I think that it's interesting that when I discuss this with clients, a lot of people now know and understand, sort of in a nutshell, cortisol. And they'll say, like, oh, my cortisol must be high. That's my problem. And you're always like fighting a losing battle with like trying to get your cortisol levels lower. Yeah. Um, and I love the science behind things. And I really do love and embrace the idea of like meditation and breath work and yoga and how all of that can help our stress levels. But why? Like what's the reason that can support this self-care that I'm doing? Because I think that for a lot of us, these habits that help to make our lives less stressful in our brains take up more time and create more stress because they're sucking up our time. So, what I really just wanted to dive down into, just slightly touch on, is the science behind the things that we need to do to relieve stress and in what areas of our life. Just to help support your why, right? We talk about that all the time. Like we have to have a why. And I think that um, that's one of the things that kind of falls to the wayside, like I said, with time when we're trying to include new activities. So first thing is just a lot of these are overlapping, but start just by talking about our autonomic nervous system. So ANS. That is our nervous system that controls things that we do not have to think about. We don't have to think about every single time we take a breath. We don't have to think about, oh, I just had lunch. I got to spend some time thinking about my digestion. That's what our ANS is. So it is breathing, digestion, heartbeat. And there can be a lot of stress and anxiety happening in those areas. And how do we improve that? So, a couple of things, and you'll hear me say this time and time again, a lot of circadian rhythm work. So, I know that we talked about that just a few weeks ago, and we do talk on it a lot with Hungry Fitness, but getting outside and spending time in nature and soaking up the sun is going to help improve stress within your ANS. Another one is connection with people, connection with pets, connection with loved ones, like really just allowing yourself to connect with other people rather than be so distracted within this world of a million distractions. That is another one that, and even, through conversation or through touch, however you connect with others is a great way to kind of approach that. And then breath work. So this is really where the meditation and yoga flows and stuff like that can come into play and improve. So surprise, surprise, that focusing on our breathing can improve our improve our breathing. But it can be as simple as taking a deep inhale and a long, slow exhale. Like that is as simple as you can get. And I feel like anybody can take time to do that. And there's lots of different depths of that. I really like the flow of like the NSDR. I don't know if you've done any of those, Michaela, but
More about that. I think a lot
so,
of people don't know what that is.
yeah, so NSDR is non-sleep deep rest. And Huberman kind of has, I don't know if he's trademarked that. Huh?
Made it popular at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has a couple of different, like, it's essentially a guided meditation, but there is some body awareness throughout the meditation that allows you to kind of think about contracting and relaxing different muscle groups. It's supposed to help with like restoring and relieving stress within your ANS, and allow you to feel more replenished and more like vitalized through just like a 10-minute breath work session. So I really like it. Again, I like the science behind it. I'm a very big on like guided meditation because I just can't sit in silence. My brain just starts going. So that to me helps me focus on relaxing the things that I'm supposed to be relaxing from doing nothing.
Right. I love guided meditations and I also love breath work for that reason because
Mm-hmm.
you're doing something, you're actively doing something, and then that allows me to go into a meditative state. I have a much harder time just in silence, but I like alternate nasal breathing. Have you done that? It's
Mm-mm.
I can't think of the actual like yogi term for it. Um, but you pretty much will breathe through one nostril at a time, like breathe in.
Oh,
I'll have to do it. I learned it in my yoga cert, and
yeah.
it's alternate. So you'll breathe in through this one, and then you'll switch and you'll breathe out through the other one, and then in through the right, and then out through the
Yeah.
left. Go back and forth. And what I liked most about it is it's like rhythmic, and you get to where just into that meditative state. But I think the active focus of like not missing the wrong nostril helps
Yeah.
to center and not be so distracted and thinking about like, oh, what am I making for dinner tonight? Oh crap, I have to do that call or
Right.
whatever. Like it just pulls me in. And I think also that's one reason like research or studies or whatever or not, the ice bath, like that is the
Yeah.
biggest thing that cold plunge has done for me is it just takes me right into my body, right into my breath immediately. And I have
Yeah.
3 to 5 minutes where I am like really in my body. And so when I get out, I feel such a high and I feel so grounded from kind of doing something that's challenging and then also coming within my body. So what I think the key to it is like finding what works for you. Um,
Yeah.
with that because maybe seated meditation isn't it, and I'm not gonna lie, like I did an entire like year of yoga teacher training, and i I hate seated meditation. Like
Yeah.
I can do a seated meditation maybe at the end of a hard yoga class, like at the end of the hard physical push I can like settle and might be a little bit of like maybe ADD going on, but I can't just like sit first thing in the morning and meditate. So
Yeah.
figuring out what it is for you, going on a walk in nature is very meditative for me. Going mountain biking is very meditative for me. Um, and then if I am doing a seated practice, like having something that I'm focused on, like breath work or a guided meditation is really helpful. So
Hmm.
just like all things, there's not one right way to eat. There's not one right way to exercise. There's definitely not one right way to practice stress management techniques and like really supporting your ANS. So
Yeah. Yeah. And small attainable goals. I think that that's one of those things too. A lot of times people are like, yeah, they're like, oh, I need to take some stress out of my life. So they try to do a million things at once, which is just creating even more stress. But like something as simple as like setting an alarm on your phone once an hour to say, I'm going to take three, deep breaths and slow, long exhales can make a huge difference. Um, so then going back to talking about cortisol a little bit, cortisol is actually goes up from high stress within our HPA axis. And so that is kind of like that network between our brain and our glands. And that's where we can see those higher cortisol levels. And really they can impact like everything from like our mood to like immunity. And if you're the type of person that you constantly get sick, it could be due to extremely high stress, which within the HPA axis. So the very first thing that I always want to pinpoint here is that when we are in a deficit, we are adding stress on our body. And I think that a lot of people, especially people that I would consider chronic dieters, who kind of always have that mindset of restriction, like they're either, kind of one end of the pendulum where they're having no rules or no regulations. And then the rest of the year, which let's say is 85% of the time, their brain is around restriction. Restricting your intake and not properly fueling, you are going to create stress within your life. So eating consistently, eating well, nutrient dense foods, and at a good like caloric intake, which is, ideally your maintenance, is going to help replenish your HPA axis as much as possible. And then sleep. So this again goes back to sunlight exposure and our circadian rhythm, but like enhancing both the quality of your sleep and the duration of your sleep. So, that could mean getting to bed 10 minutes earlier. That could mean having a good bedtime routine, wearing blue light blockers when you are on your computer or on your phone or watching TV at night, getting daylight exposure, at least 15 minutes, 3 times throughout the day, in the morning, afternoon, and evening. All of those things are going to help improve not just the duration, but the quality of your sleep when you are sleeping. And then as well as the other activities that I mentioned with reducing stress within your ANS is also going to help improve stress within your HPA axis. So doing those stress reducing activities like breath work, getting outside.
And then just to like explain that our HPA axis, what that is our hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So our hypothalamus, which is in our brain, when we're under, sorry, my mom's calling me, when we're under stress, that signals our pituitary gland to send a hormone, and it has a really long name. It's just ACTH. It's like what it's referred to. I think it's, let me see, it's adrenocorticotropic hormone into our bloodstream. So you don't have to remember that. Just know that your hypothalamus in your brain sends a signal to your pituitary gland, which is just below your brain. And that signals our adrenal glands, which are located on top of our kidneys to produce cortisol. So that's like how basically our body signals stress. It's like we're stressed. Our brain tells our pituitary gland, our pituitary gland tells our adrenals, and that releases cortisol. And so it's just like how our body handles stress, and just remembering that it isn't like if someone is robbing you, obviously that's going to produce a ton of cortisol, but also an uncomfortable conversation that you might have to have, maybe lack of sleep, just a lack of the things that Julie talked about: exercise, connection, water, having just way too much on your plate, a huge mental load, so many things, from a hard workout to like poor relationship quality. It can affect our HPA access. And I think a lot of times we don't think life is very stressful. But we have a lot of things, like our body can't distinguish the difference between a challenging workout or a hard meeting at work, or your kid whining all day and like just really causing your nervous system to be affected. It's all handled in a similar fashion in our body. And so, like Julie said, if you add on like and then you're like, I am so out of shape, I need to just really accelerate my fat loss phase, because that's going to make it all better. You're adding more stress. And so if you do want to see results with your body composition, like, you really need to pay attention to stress. And sleep is definitely like bottom of that stress pyramid, for where to, I think, look first in circadian rhythm. So
And I think a lot of people are in that state of mind when they get to that point of they're ready for change. You know,
yeah,
they're like, I'm ready for change. I want to do a deficit. I want to lose some body fat. I want to get into a good workout routine. They're typically in a position where stress is very high in their life. And I would say for a lot of clients that we, that kind of come to us through Hungry Fitness, they're very type A, have a lot going on, high potential, like goal setting. And a lot of them, I bet if you asked, would say, I manage stress really well. And I think that there is, I mean, it's a good thing that you feel confident in yourself to be able to juggle all of the things that you have going on. But it's no different than skipping a meal, like you're avoiding your self-care. You have to fill up your cup first in order to pour into others. So I don't want that to be a cop out to say like, well, you manage stress really well, so you're able to carry this whole load, because eventually it's going to catch up. So the more that you can do to counteract that with these habits, the better.
yeah. And I think as coaches, we do a lot of communication with our clients. And that's really important to us, because we can pretty quickly tell, like, okay, is this person a high level of perceived stress or a low level of perceived stress? And so if they're high, we know, all right, we can push you a little bit here. Like, let's talk about some, stress management techniques and ideas. And if they're very low perceived stress, then we know, like, we have to be the ones to tell you, listen, you don't, like, let's just maybe write it down, like all of the things that are draining you. Okay, now on the other side of the paper, I love this practice, just a little T graph, all the things that are draining you and all the things that are charging you. Um, and let's look at it. Is it balanced? Is it not? Okay, what can we change here? Lindy, who used to do some of our calls, she said, I think it was her that said this. What can you delegate, automate, or eliminate? As far as stress goes. And I think that's really good. So looking through all of your drains, okay, which of these items can you assign to someone else? Whether that's maybe a spouse, a child, or like paying someone to come do it. Which ones can you automate? Which ones can you create some systems for? Which is going to be more work in the beginning, but then you can scale a lot that way. And then which ones can you just get rid of? Like, what can you say no to? What's actually important to you on that list of things, and what matters to you, and what are you doing just out of obligation to others? And like, can you eliminate that and have some maybe uncomfortable conversations and better boundaries, which in the long run is going to be way, way better for you. And I'm speaking to myself on that as a people pleaser, but that's part of growing up. Like, that's part of learning what you have capacity for, because if you don't do that, then you'll end up with resentment, and that doesn't benefit you on as far as like stress goes. And
Right.
I think when you have that dysregulation of your HPA axis, that's when you are going for more, like, you're wanting those highly palatable foods. And it can be it is a lot harder to control your appetite and just be consistent with whatever plan you're on, because the
Mm-hmm.
body is looking for an outlet to relieve that stress.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then just the third point with stress reduction is really just trying to get as in sync with your circadian rhythm as you can. So I know that we just talked about this recently. I don't want to, dive, repeat the same things over and over again, but it really is. It's, sunlight exposure, having, evening routines and bedtime routines and rituals that you do, getting prepared and ready for bed, taking advantage of resources like blue light blockers to utilize in the evening time when you have exposure to blue light. Really putting, I love this like just term, but I always say put the house to sleep. Shut the lights off, dim the lights, turn down the volume on any devices, any TVs or anything like that you have
I
on.
don't see it, and I need my.
Wear your blue light blockers, if you're on that kind of thing, and just like allow everything in the house to kind of calm down to get ready for bed. So,
I have a question for you with
yeah,
wearing blue light blocking glasses, which by the way is only, I don't have any at my desk, but they do have to have an orange tint.
yeah,
For them to be blocking. A lot of glasses will say they're blue light blocking glasses and they're just blue light filtering, which really means.
yeah.
So when you're looking for them, eyekeepers.com is a great website for inexpensive ones, and so is Amazon. You can just look on Amazon, blue light blocking glasses. Just make sure when you read the description, it says, I think it needs to block at least 99% of blue light, and they're orange tinted. But I was gonna ask you, because we've been wearing blue light blocking glasses for like years now. Do you notice at night if you go somewhere, or maybe you're just out of your routine and like lights are on in the evening, does it feel way harsh where like before you wouldn't have even noticed that?
Yes,
Like your
I
body
do.
knows like this is too much right now.
Yeah.
Mine does.
I
I've noticed a huge difference.
I definitely notice too, like when I'm like if I'm sick or not feeling well and I've been inside for like much longer than normal, getting outside that it does feel like you're like, oh my gosh, I like can't even see right now. Um,
Yeah, we'll have, I mean, as far as getting outside goes too, have you seen, there was a video going around on social media and someone, he was using, I forget what the tool was to measure like the wattage, like the light wattage. Might not be
mhm,
wattage, word, but whatever the measurement is for light in a room. And he measured different spaces. So he measured his house and then he measured like IKEA, he measured the light section of Lowe's, and he measured um outside, and then he measured outside even on like an overcast day. And I need to find the video. I'll find it and send it out on the app. But basically inside it was like
are you talking about like the lumens?
1,000, and outside it was like 400,000, and on a cloudy day it was like 200,000, which was like the light section of Home Depot was only like, maybe 80,000 or something. So it was just
Yeah,
like when you go outside, it is like so much more powerful as far as
yeah,
what we're getting light into our eyes. And even on an overcast day, there's just no comparison. So
yeah,
just like if you're thinking about it, I mean, if you're inside all day, then it's a huge difference than spending time outside. And it doesn't really feel like that big of a difference sometimes in our day-to-day
mhm,
life. But just knowing like even on a rainy overcast day, you're getting so much more light in your eyes, which our bodies need compared to being inside with artificial light. So
yeah.
it does make a big difference on our health and
I
definitely.
I feel like the biggest thing that shifted that I noticed when I started wearing the blue light blockers, and really it was like immediately, is number one, like appetite. Like evening time, wanting to eat something, I had like no desire to snack or want anything like that. And then two, just that like readiness to go to bed.
Yeah, like you get.
Not like you feel groggy, like you can't keep your eyes open. It's not like that. It is just like this like relaxed state that you have. And I'm assuming that's because of the melatonin production that starts to happen as soon as we start blocking some of those blue lights earlier in the day, because that is something that like with blue light exposure, your body is delayed with producing melatonin. So where if you're watching TV until 10 p.m., you shut it off and you close your eyes, try to go to sleep, the melatonin production that would have been happening at 10 p.m. if you had minimal to no blue light exposure from, let's say, 7 p.m. till then, wouldn't be hitting until 1 in the morning, as far as the levels. So like that kind of stuff, I think it's something that I wish I could like explain with science, but is literally just a feeling that I have when I wear the glasses that I'm like, man, I'm like just so relaxed right now. I could go to sleep.
Yeah, well, and melatonin is inverse to cortisol. So there's so many things on social media right now, how to like eat these certain foods to optimize your cortisol and do these activities and whatever. And I think it's so important to know that like if you want your cortisol to be optimized, then what do? You optimize your circadian rhythm because that is a circadian rhythm hormone and it's inverse to melatonin. So if you stay up late and you have blue light, I mean, we all love a good Instagram scroll in the evening or watching a show, whatever, to lower stress, but like ideally we don't do those things, but if you're going to put your blue light blocking glasses on so your body can produce melatonin at optimal timing, which is going to then allow your body to produce cortisol optimally in the morning. And that's one thing too, is like when you let your body naturally have that circadian rhythm and melatonin is released at the right timing, you're going to have just a whole cascade of hormonal benefits from that. But you'll find you're going to wake up way more alert. And that's because cortisol is going to be optimized. So
Yeah.
if you feel like you're experiencing high stress and cortisol is dysregulated, then yeah, prioritize that evening routine. Like get outside for 15 to 20 minutes in the evening, get light in your eyes. When you're outside during the day, don't wear sunglasses. And I know that sounds crazy. Had I heard someone say that 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed them because I literally couldn't be outside without sunglasses. But since getting morning and evening sunlight, I can be out like midday on a beach and feel fine without sunglasses. And so I think just like know that it takes some time, but getting that morning and evening sunlight will prepare your eyes and your skin for midday sun as well. So all of that to go back to getting outside in the evening, getting sunlight in your eyes, that's going to tell your body that it's evening time and it's going to prepare for that melatonin release. So then when you come inside and you block artificial blue light and dim lights and put the house to sleep, then that hormonal effect will happen and be optimized. And over like fairly quickly, a couple of weeks, I would say, you're going to feel a pretty big difference. And that's going to help you kind of shift your sleep wake times to what's optimal for you.
Yeah. And like we said, small attainable goals, small habits can build into big ones. Yep.
It can go a long ways.
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for hosting the call. If anyone has questions on anything as far as stress goes, post them on the groups. And we will be happy to answer. And I don't think Julie has any one-on-one spots available right now, but maybe end of June, I think I saw.
Yeah. June, July.
Like, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I saw that on the sheet. Don't quote me on it. But also people can always do like a strategy call. You can book a strategy call with Julie.
Yeah.
So that's an option as well. So thank you so much. And
of course.
have a great week. And we will be back on next Monday. I will be talking actually about programming, just how to customize HF Physique for your goals with your equipment and just kind of going through all of that on Monday. So I hope everyone has a great week and we will be in touch. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you. See you guys.